professor and fellow classmates. From the readings this week, I learned a lot about educational programs and policies which have been put in place to help ELL and bilingual students. One of the things that I found most interesting was that although the United States has had a long history of bilingual education, the federal government has had direct involvement in the education of ELLs only since the late 1960s, according to one of the reading from this week, the 2010 article. This began with the Title IV Bilingual Education Act of 1968. During the next 3 decades, the Bilingual Education Act was revised many times, each time providing greater clarity about the goals of the program and what they hope that program would accomplish, and the students to be served, and the programs for eligible for federal funding. Though non-bilingual programs were afforded greater flexibility, the final version of the Bilingual Education Act revealed that the federal government fully recognized the value of bilingualism and the need for bilingual citizens, and marked its commitment to bilingual education. So that was great for the school system, that it was finally recognized that just because English wasn't their first language, they weren't essential. It's not like they aren't essential to the school system. Another thing that I found interesting from the reading was that state policies for ELL students have also varied widely. Since 2002, state education policies have been driven largely by the No Child Left Behind Act. Bilingual education remains a viable option in most states, even in the 3 states with large ELL populations that have placed restrictions on bilingual education for ELLs as a result of voter initiatives. Those 3 states were California, Arizona, and Massachusetts. In those states, bilingual education is still possible through the waiver process. Nonetheless, even in states like Texas that have strong commitments to bilingual education, the accountability requirements of NCLB, No Child Left Behind, it makes it difficult for schools to continue to offer strong bilingual program models that promote bilingualism, biliteracy, and biculturalism. I found that very interesting and odd because it seemed that this program was almost working against the progress that has been made by limiting the resources available in those 3 states. The last thing that I wanted to mention was that the courts have played and do continue to play to this day a significant role in the development of policy for ELLs. Through a variety of decisions in important cases, the courts have made it clear that language minorities in the United States have the same rights as other Americans under the U.S. Constitution. Language minorities have the right to teach their children their native language through private language classes. And though the courts have made it clear that there is no constitutional right to bilingual education in the public schools, the courts have stipulated that schools cannot ignore the linguistic and academic needs of all students. Programs for ELLs must be based on sound educational theory They must be provided with adequate resources and properly trained teachers. And they must be evaluated to ensure that they are sufficient in meeting the needs of other students. So, those were some things that I found interesting or odd from the readings this week. It was very educational and new to me to hear about some of these acts and policies and what's being done for bilingual students in our education system and where it's come from.